Now at 9, 2 of the 9 suspects in a 2020 murder case are sentenced after pleading guilty.
The Neosho School District has a creative new way to address their workforce shortage while also helping students get their first jobs. I'm Bronte Sorotsky with those details.
Drug makers are now working on Omicron-specific vaccines while the surge shows signs of slowing down. I'm Jonathan Seri in Atlanta. I'll have details coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Dow Quick. 2 of the 9 suspects in a 2020 murder in Lawrence County, Missouri learned their fate. A judge sentenced 23-year-old Gary Hunter Jr. to 40 years in prison and 26-year-old Deanna Parks to 30 years. Both took plea deals in the murder case of Sarah Pasco. Prosecutors say in 2020, Hunter and Parks, along with 7 other suspects, kidnapped Pasco and a second woman, drove them to a well, and then shot them and left them for dead. This is that well. Pasco was shot once in the head and died. Prosecutors say the second victim hid under Pasco's body and pretended to be dead as Gary Hunter Jr. fired into the well. Authorities say that woman survived and was able to tell investigators where they could find Pasco's body. Let's check in with Doug Hetty now for a first look at the weather.
Well, it turned out to be a decent day for us today, at least warmer than what we have seen over the past couple days, which is always nice. We started at 30 during the morning hours and we did make it up to about 45 during the afternoon, average highs 46. So right about where we should be for this time of the year. We have some clouds kind of sneaking through. We may see a random flurry or two late tonight into tomorrow morning as a weak little wave kind of drops off toward the south and to the east. Also with it, it's going to bring in a little bit cooler air, so a little bit cooler for us tonight, and then also into the daytime hours tomorrow. Upper 20s to lower 30s is where we stand right now. We'll drop back to about 24. 32 by 9, high temp, a little cooler, right around 40 degrees. Lots of changes down the road. We're going to look at that here in just a bit.
See you then. Staffing shortages are an ongoing issue nationwide, but the Neosho School District is implementing a new program to help with their own shortages. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky has how that new program for high school students aims to help while giving students workforce experience.
The Neosho School District is unfortunately no stranger to staffing shortages.
We started losing staff members. We've stayed understaffed in our custodial department.
This lack of staffing, specifically in the custodial department, has made it harder for the district's custodial team to keep the district clean, something that's become even more important during the pandemic.
Well, it just makes it harder to get the schools clean and disinfected like they should be.
To remedy this issue, the district has launched a new program to get more staff members. Who would they be hiring?
Hiring students. I hope to have more hands to help get our schools clean and safe.
The idea to hire students isn't new. Multiple school districts across the country have been testing it out amid nationwide staffing shortages. Here's how it would work. All applicants would need to be Neosho High School students and would need to be at least 16 years old. They'd also need at least a 2.0 GPA and have reliable transportation. The district says they hope it can not only help with staffing, but also give students valuable work experience.
I think it's a win-win for our school system, and I think it's a win-win for our kids. Maybe we instill some work ethic in them where they are getting paid, and then we're cleaning our schools and keeping them good for our community, our students.
It would give students the chance to learn some new skills and alleviate the ongoing workforce shortage.
I'm really excited about this program, and our community's excited about it too. I have a lot of people approach me and ask me about it, and I've had a lot of positive comments on this new program.
In Neosho, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
So far, 4 students have applied to the program. The custodial team is currently 4 people short. Missouri Governor Mike Parson is calling for increased funding for higher education in the proposed state budget for the next fiscal year. Some of that increased funding would go to Missouri Southern if the budget's passed. One impact would be a $1.4 million increase for the school's core budget. It would also give the university $30 million for a health science innovation building.
Yeah, I think our campus community is very pleased and hopeful based on the governor's recommendations, both for the core budget increase and the one-time funds, including for capital.
The budget would also provide more than $700,000 for a proposed Center for Digital Media and Virtual Production. Two Southeast Kansas cities receive a share of $23 million in federal grants to increase public safety and healthcare access in the state. The Neosho Memorial Regional Medical Center will rebuild and repair 3 boiler units with a $175,000 grant. A $35,500 grant for the Neosho Police Department will fund new equipment and furniture for its new offices. The department's old offices were closed in 2016 due to conditions of the building. The officers are currently housed in City Hall until the completion of the new building in a few months. 2 Omicron-specific vaccines are being tested as the surge shows no signs of slowing down. But hospitals are still feeling the effects of staffing shortages. Reporter Jonathan Seri has more.
Medical experts agree we could be on the other side of the Omicron surge, but we're still averaging nearly 700,000 cases per day. Drug makers are now adapting their COVID vaccines to target Omicron. Pfizer and its research partner BioNTech are testing an Omicron-specific vaccine, while Moderna is moving forward with phase 2 clinical trials for a booster targeting the variant. The company's chief medical officer says if all goes well, the booster could be ready by the fall.
By the middle of the year, we really should be able to home in on what's the perfect vaccine to boost people and keep people safe.
Dr. Paul Burton adds we could eventually see an annual shot targeting multiple viruses.
If I had to predict now, I would say we will get to a point of a yearly vaccine that combines, for example, COVID and flu vaccines in a single shot.
Meanwhile, hospitals are still feeling the effects of this latest surge. CDC data show daily admissions dropped almost 10% over the last week. But medical centers in the South and West are still facing critical staffing shortages, and some fear the situation could get worse. Today, healthcare workers in about half of the states faced a deadline to get their first dose of a COVID vaccine under a Biden administration mandate.
We've got as many patients in the hospital this week as we did this time last week. So this is not the time for letting our guard down.
The vaccine mandate for healthcare workers will be rolled out across the rest of the country in the coming weeks. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor another 4-state hero. Mac Percy served in the U.S. Army from 1941 to 1945. The Iola, Kansas native was the captain of the Home Guard in the Iola area, and we salute Captain Mac Percy, a 4-state hero. Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast, and later the Pittsburgh State Gorillas hit the floor for a doubleheader against Northeastern State. We'll have highlights in sports.
Well, it definitely turned out to be a nicer day for us today. Temperatures mid-40s, where we should be for this time of the year. We did have a weak cold front that dropped in late this afternoon, so this is cooling us down just a little bit by the time we head into the daytime hours tomorrow. Good news is, 1, it's Friday. 2, we're going to warm up as we head into the weekend. Temperatures 50s. We're going to go into the 60s by the time Monday rolls around. Watching our next storm system Tuesday through Thursday. This could give us showers, thunderstorms, some wintry weather as well, especially Wednesday. Then heading into Thursday, of course, you can get my longer range forecast on my month-long blog. That is KOAMnewsnow.com. All right, mid-40s for us today, which is pretty good. It's going to get a little bit colder tonight. With that cold front, we're dropping down upper 20s to lower 30s. I think most of us eventually will get down into lower 20s later on tonight. We have those northerly winds kind of ushering in a little bit cooler air, and the winds are light, so at least we're not dealing with a wind chill factor as we go through the overnight hours. All right, 33 northerly winds are light. Humidity is at 63%. We do have some clouds which are kind of scooting through the region. Nothing underneath the clouds, but we can't rule out a random flurry or two late tonight into tomorrow morning. With this weak little wave, there are some very light little flurries passing through Nebraska, northeastern Kansas, parts of Iowa. Besides that, you can look out west, nothing going on. So our weather's pretty quiet as we go through the next couple days. Let's break it down for you tonight. Lower 20s Again, some clouds, a random flurry or two. Mostly cloudy skies during the morning hours. We'll get a little bit more sunshine by tomorrow afternoon. Here's 4 p.m. A little bit cooler, but it's not bad. High temps near 40, 26 by 6, 36 by noon, right around 40. Northerly winds 5 to 10. Tomorrow night, we back down into the 20s. Once again, mid-20s. Then as we go into Saturday, we go into the 50s, 4 highs. So Saturday looks great. We're going to go into the mid-50s. Sunday, we're going to go into the mid-50s. We should go into the 60s by the time Monday rolls around. So here's Sunday afternoon if you're heading to Arrowhead at kickoff, setting into the upper 40s, so really not that bad. 60s on Monday. Here comes rain on Tuesday. Could even get a few thunderstorms. An Arctic front slides in, so we should go to freezing rain and sleet by the time we head into Tuesday night and Wednesday. Of course, this is 5 days away, so timing, we got to kind of really narrow it down as we go through the next 5 or 6 days, and then we could switch over to snow. So this is a system we want to keep our eyes on as we go into next week. 40 tomorrow, 54 Saturday, 53 Sunday, 64 on Monday, and then it just gets really cold, dropping into the 20s mid next week.
Please try to adjust your forecast before we get to that possibility of sleet and very, very cold.
I'll see what I can do.
Thanks, Doug. Coming up, the retirement announcement is now official.
President Biden is getting ready to pick his first Supreme Court nominee. I'm Mather Rivera at the Supreme Court with the latest on Justice Stephen Breyer's retirement announcement coming up.
Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer is making it official, announcing his retirement alongside President Biden, who will name a nominee to replace him in the weeks ahead. Reporter Madeline Rivera is in Washington with more on who is speculated to be on the president's shortlist.
Justice Stephen Breyer sharing news of his retirement Thursday with words of reflection, expressing hope that the American experiment of democracy will ultimately succeed.
It's that next generation. They'll determine whether the experiment still works. And of course, I am an optimist, and I'm pretty sure it will.
As he begins to turn the page after serving more than 27 years on the nation's highest court, the president is also beginning the process of picking his first Supreme Court nominee. He's made no decisions, except that whomever he chooses will be a black woman.
I will nominate a historic candidate, someone who's worthy of Justice Breyer's legacy.
Potential nominees may include U.S. Circuit judges and state Supreme Court justices. But the president's critics are warning against judicial activism, a notion the White House is knocking down.
I'm fearful that the president is going to nominate a left-wing ideologue who believes it's the Supreme Court's role to write the laws and make the laws.
If anyone is saying they plan to characterize whoever he nominates after thorough consideration with both parties as radical before they know literally anything about who she is, they just obliterated their own credibility.
Democrats say they're aiming to move quickly with the confirmation process, as some Republicans urge them not to rush.
We can take our time, have hearings, go through the process.
Breyer is planning to step down at the end of the term this summer, so long as his successor is nominated and confirmed. The president says he plans to announce his nominee at the end of next month. At the Supreme Court, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
Still ahead, addressing issues at the border.
The Biden administration is attempting to tackle the issue of the surge in migrants from both sides of the southern border. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington with the latest on the story next.
Vice President Kamala Harris is in Honduras, and Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is on a 3-day trip to Arizona and Texas to see the southern border. Both are working to address the migration crisis from one end to the other. Reporter Lauren Blanchard is in Washington with more.
Far south of the border, Vice President Kamala Harris is in Honduras for new President Xiomara Castro's inauguration. The two leaders will meet as migration remains as steady a problem for the administration as the flow is across the U.S. border. Images like this, all too common. The latest Customs and Border Protection numbers show last month 179,000 migrants were apprehended at the border. Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott says his state is working to stop the flow, with or without the administration.
Joe Biden does not care that people are dying today because of the open border policies.
Just north of the border, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is personally meeting with border agents. In a series of tweets, he promised to deliver resources, but some see it as empty.
It breaks my heart to think at one point I thought the Biden administration wanted to abolish ICE, but now it's clear they just want to abolish our entire southern border.
According to Syracuse University track data, there is a backlog of 1.6 million pending immigration cases. The administration says they're working on it.
Appearance rate in court is actually high, and we have mechanisms to ensure their appearance in court.
There have been reports of frustration among border agents toward Mayorkas. He tweeted that he's heard concerns loud and clear. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Up next, how Chiefs fans showed their respect to Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills after last weekend's playoff game, $13 at a time.
Hi, I'm Josh.
After the Chiefs' overtime playoff win last weekend, Chiefs fans wanted to show their respect to Josh Allen in the city of Buffalo, and they did it $13 at a time. Reporter Abby Dodge has more.
Fans walked out of Arrowhead Sunday night with renewed passion for their hometown team. Even after their playoff chances were crushed, Bills fans were gracious.
We love Kansas City no matter what. Thank you so much for having us.
Now Chiefs Kingdom is returning the favor, 13-fold.
Regardless of who won, it needed to be celebrated somehow. So in a way, it's like Chiefs fans being able to celebrate that 13-second comeback while also, giving due respect and honor to Josh Allen, the Bills, and of course, Bills Mafia.
Brett Fitzgerald runs a Chiefs meme group on Facebook. He picked up on a suggestion from a Bills fan and created this meme. It's the driving factor behind donations to the Children's Hospital in Buffalo.
It's unprecedented what's happening. I can't believe it. I seriously can't believe.
The hospital on the receiving end of those donations is at a loss for words, too.
I want the community of Kansas City to know that what they've done is really impactful to us and that we're truly thankful for it.
The Patricia Allen Foundation supports services at the John R. Oshai Children's Hospital, services many families in the area wouldn't be able to afford without Josh Allen's charity. Employees know what the more than $222,000 in donations can do.
Everybody is talking about it. Anywhere you go in a hospital right now, people are saying, did you see what was on the news? Did you see the Facebook?
To see this is just words can't describe. I mean, it's just truly phenomenal how generous everybody's being. And
more than 12,000 people have donated so far, all hoping to throw a little kindness their way.
30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way.
A new coffee shop in Joplin is serving up a dose of kindness for the residents of Souls Harbor. I'm Kate Kelly with that story just ahead.
Russia signals a willingness to negotiate as the Ukraine crisis grinds on. I'm Greg Pelka in Kiev. That's my story coming up.
A new coffee shop in downtown Joplin hopes to pave the way for kindness to grow off the beaten path. KUAM's Kate Kelly shares why the owner feels it's his mission to serve up more than just caffeine.
Beaten Path, just 2 doors down from Souls Harbor, is John Baker's newest venture, a coffee shop and art gallery that's piqued some interest from the neighbors.
My initial thought was they're opening something new, but there's going to be so many more people coming by and just thinking, oh no, here's a whole bunch of homeless people.
Tiffany is a mother of 4 who fled an abusive situation. She's been staying at Souls Harbor for about a month, and she's quickly become a fan of Baker's coffee and his kindness. A smile, a cup of coffee, and a listening ear goes a long way for people who may often feel overlooked.
He understands, and he is proud to be next to somewhere that is doing so much for people who may be struggling, going through something, and it doesn't bother him, and he doesn't feel that it's going to affect his business none. He chose to be here.
While many people would shy away from opening a new business this close to a homeless shelter, John Baker calls it a blessing.
God sends people here to us,
And every time that God has ever sent someone here to us, it has been in a way that we can help them. And that's why I know that this is our ministry. It's not like, oh, well, we could try to help them. No, it's like, here is the way to help them right here.
Baker feels a strong connection to this place and the people nearby. He himself experienced homelessness when he was younger, but admits he had forgotten how difficult it was. Countless cups of coffee and conversation has brought back his sense of empathy.
When I came back and started connecting with these people, it reconnected me with that root of who I was. And I was like, man, it was so easy for me to get there. It's just that easy for someone else to get there over a couple of bad decisions and a bad month.
You got to know everybody's story. Not everybody's homeless by choice. I mean, your whole life, I had everything going for me. House, car, everything. And just because of a bad relationship, it was all ripped away with nowhere to go all at once.
Baker says there's no other place he'd want his business to be and challenges others to practice kindness.
Who's to say that this isn't a hub of happiness? That if you start it here, it will spread across this town like a good virus, you know, and spread happiness, which, let's be honest, we could all use a good dose of smile right now.
In Joplin, Kate Kelly, KOAM News.
Baker says he's hired several of the residents of Souls Harbor to help out with projects at the shop and calls them some of the hardest workers he's ever seen. He hopes to continue collaborating with his neighbors to provide more opportunities for families and individuals needing a hand up to get their feet back on the ground. Ann Bybee of Parsons, Kansas is about to do something not many ever do, celebrate a 100th birthday. She's lived an interesting life, to say the least. She's worked as a welder in World War II. She's been inducted into the Kansas Bowling Hall of Fame and has been honored for volunteer service at Parsons Hospital, putting in 3,000 hours.
I'll say something now, but when you retired, the first thing is you do not get on the phone, you do not get on the computer. You keep going and doing. You don't sit and wait for time to catch up with you. Go in there and watch TV.
And still volunteers at the Parsons Museum. Her birthday, 100th birthday, February 5th. Her brother has already hit the century mark. He's 101 years old. Their sister, she's a mere 98. The city of Joplin hosted a public meeting to discuss contingency plans for reducing transit services if they don't have adequate staffing. There are 4 plans on the table that would reduce routes for maps or for the trolley system. Today's meeting was not to choose a plan, it was just to answer any questions residents may have.
So, thankfully at this point we aren't looking at we have to do any of these, but, we are certainly close enough that we need to look ahead and see if something happened and we were to lose 1 or 2 more people due to, whatever it is, even a day-to-day basis, how do we react to it so that we can still serve as many people as possible?
You can find details about the plans on our website. That's KOAMnewsnow.com. A new report shows the U.S. economy grew at its fastest rate last year since the 1980s. The Bureau of Economic Analysis reported the U.S. gross domestic product, the country's broadest measure of economic activity. The report shows the GDP expanded nearly 6% in 2021. This is the fastest pace since 1984, when President Ronald Reagan was in the White House. The fourth quarter notched a 6.9% increase. It's not a de-escalation yet, but Russia says there's a possible political path out of the Ukraine crisis. Reporter Greg Palcott has more from Kiev, Ukraine.
Ukrainian troops in the front lines are watching and waiting after Russia indicated a diplomatic path is possible to avoid conflict. On Wednesday, the U.S. made it clear that it is not willing to give in to Moscow's main demand, a halt to NATO expansion in Eastern Europe. Russia says that's the only way to fully de-escalate and end the crisis, while also taking a softer tone and agreeing to a 2-week pause while officials work on a political solution.
Our country doesn't plan to attack anyone. We consider even a thought about war between our peoples unacceptable.
The next step, a high-level diplomatic meeting 2 weeks from now in Berlin, where representatives from Russia, Ukraine, France, and Germany will work on a more permanent agreement for de-escalation. In the meantime, Military aid continues to arrive here, including fighter jets and anti-tank missiles, with the Pentagon pledging to stay alert for any more provocations from Russia.
As for Russian buildups we continue to see, including in the last 24 hours, more accumulation of credible combat forces.
Ukraine's president is welcoming Russia's response to the U.S., calling it a step towards peace. But other officials here say now is not the time to back down.
President Putin sees that there are no weak links in our defensive chain. While I'm a big fan of soft power, I'm afraid that this is really the time for hard power to be used.
Some NATO allies, including France, are floating the idea of building up NATO troops in Eastern Europe while the diplomatic process plays out. In Kiev, Greg Palcon, Fox News.
A bit later, returning to nature.
A growing number of millionaires are using their green to help save the environment. I'm Ashley Strohmeyer with more on a unique process called rewilding coming up.
Well, it definitely turned out to be a warmer day for us today. Actually turned out to be a pretty nice day. Mid-40s for highs. We had some clouds kind of scooting through during the afternoon. We still have partly cloudy skies out there for us now, and that's what we're going to see as we go through the overnight hours tonight. All right, a little bit colder tomorrow. It's not going to be bad. High temps near 40. We are going to warm up as we head into the weekend. We're watching our next storm system, bigger storm system, which is going to roll in next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. If you want my long-range forecast all the way into March, mid-March, you can go to my month-long blog, KOAMNewsNow.com. I actually just updated that. All right, temps today, mid-40s. We're dropping off now. It's going to be a cold night. Most of us upper 20s to lower 30s at this point in time. I think most of us are going to kind of bottom out into lower 20s for overnight lows. We have these light northerly winds kind of kicking in, ushering in a little bit cooler air. Outside, 7th and Rangeline sitting at 33. Northerly winds are light. Humidity is not bad at about 64%. And you can see a few clouds kind of skirting through. There are a few flurries to our north. So we may see a random flurry or two late tonight into tomorrow morning as this weak little wave kind of rotates through. But besides that, that's it. Nothing going on. Look out west. Not much going on. So our weather's calm as we go through the next few days. All right, low to mid 20s tonight. So it's going to be cold. Again, a random flurry early in the morning and then kind of just mostly cloudy skies most of the day. We'll get a little bit more sunshine in here late in the day. Temperatures cooler, but still not bad. We're going to start at 26, 36 by noon. High temp right around 40. Northerly winds are going to be light at about 5 to 10. Cold again tomorrow night. Back down into the 20s once again. But check this out. By the time we head into Saturday afternoon, we bounce into the mid-50s. 4 highs. We're going to be into the mid-50s. Once again, on Sunday, we should go into the 60s by the time Monday rolls around. Here comes our next storm system. So we're moving into Tuesday. Showers, maybe even a few thunderstorms. Arctic front dips in. So by Tuesday night, and this is still several days away, the way it looks right now, by Tuesday night, we go over to freezing rain and sleet. And we may have some ice issues across the region. We'll definitely pinpoint that as we get closer to it over the next few days. As that colder air continues to work in, we'll most likely go to snow late Wednesday into Thursday. Also look at the temperatures. We're down into the single digits, so it gets much, much colder as we go into the second half of next week. So that's what we're going to be focusing on as we go through the next few days. 40 tomorrow, 54 Saturday, 53 on Sunday, 64 on Monday, 58 Tuesday. We drop into the 20s Wednesday, down to 10 if we do get ice and snow. We won't make it to 20 on Thursday, so we'll just have to see how that all works out.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, it really is.
Thanks, Jack. Coming up in sports, Scott and Frontenac wrestling meet for the latest chapter of the Cannonball Clash. Plus, a game-winning buzzer beater lifts the Pitt State women over Northeastern State. Jacob Leonard has that and more next.
The Pittsburgh State Gorillas are back on the floor tonight for a home doubleheader against Northeastern State. On the women's side, the Gorillas aim to sweep the season series over the Riverhawks after beating them in Tahlequah back in December. Now, Pitt State enters the day 6-6 in the MIAA, 11-7 overall. Pick it up second quarter, Sydney Crane for 3. 7-0 run for Pitt State to open the second quarter. Final seconds of the first half, Aaron Davis connects from deep. Gorillas go to the break up 28-24, but game gets interesting from there. PSU up 1 with 30 seconds left. Leah Langstaff, huge night. She gets 26 and 10. Northeastern State up by 1 with 25 seconds to go. Gorillas ball, look, who else? Tristan Gegg and the foul. She scores 14 in the fourth, finishes with 24. Free throw puts the Gorillas back up 2. Under 10 seconds, Ashton Hackler off the glass from 3. That ties it up. The Gorillas get one more chance with 2 seconds left. The inbound here goes to Jamie Jackson. Count it! Off the glass for the game winner. As time expires, Gorillas win 71-69. Jamie Jackson, the hero tonight for Pitt State.
We were trying to get a post up on the block to either me or Holmes and try to get a quick shot in the paint, but they kind of knew what we were going to do, and they ended up doubling down there. So I kind of just popped out and tried to make something happen at the end. It felt really good, and then I saw my whole team swarming at me, which is probably the best feeling.
You know, it's great to see your kids make plays. I mean, Jamie's play at the end was just a player making a play. She was pretty excited, I think, and everybody being excited for her. Nobody cares at that moment. Nobody cares. We just want to win the game.
To the men's game now, Gorillas try to snap a 5-game losing streak and split the season series with NSU. Slow start to the game, but Cam Hufner, working down low, gets the Gorillas on the board first. The other end, NSU takes its first lead here. Obiagu finishes off the window. Off the bench, Ryan Pippins came up big for PSU tonight, scores a team-high 16. The Gorillas almost erased a 17-point halftime deficit, but they do fall just short, 60-54. Well, Fort Scott and Frontenac Wrestling meet tonight for their annual Cannonball Clash. The Raiders and Tigers competed in triangular with Joplin this evening in Frontenac, with the two SEK rivals finishing up the night. Now, Fort Scott aims to take the trophy home for the second straight season, while the Raiders try for their 5th win in 6 years. Jasper Allison ranked 3rd in 4A at 120. Big takedown. Wins by fall. Freshman Brody Gomez, also ranked weight class 126. Got it done quickly. Finishes it off in 21 seconds. Fort Scott out to a big lead early then. Frontenac starts to get back into it. Behind their two best guys, Dawson Lapping, #1 in the state in 4A. Undefeated, takes care of business tonight. Then Justice Compton, also #1 at 170. They'll win by fall. At this point, it's neck and neck. Energy in the gym pretty high. First-year wrestler Blake Tomasi gets the pin in the first period. Fort Scott wins for the second year in a row over Frontenac, 45-27.
Sometimes when you're not the most talented team, you have to outwork your opponents. And Keith always has a team that is going to be in top-notch shape, and we knew we had to step it up and keep some matches close and win some matches late. Wrestling's so much of an individual sport, so when you can make something so team-involved and everybody gets excited and everybody wants everybody to win and there's not any selfishness, it's really good for our sport.
Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger announces his retirement from the NFL today. Roethlisberger played 18 seasons in the league, all for Pittsburgh, after being a first-round pick back in 2004. Big Ben finishes his career as a 2-time Super Bowl champ and a 6-time Pro Bowler. He's 5th all-time in passing yards, 5th all-time in wins as a quarterback, and 7th all-time in passing touchdowns. Roethlisberger won 67% of his games as a starter, the 6th best mark in NFL history. And that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
One conservation technique is making its way into the real estate market, as people are buying multi-million-dollar pieces of land and then allowing them to be reclaimed by nature. Reporter Ashley Stromier has more.
There are many ways to reduce your carbon footprint and help combat climate change, but a unique trend is sprouting up overseas in Scotland, where millionaires are buying large plots of land and converting them back into natural forest in a process called rewilding.
Kildrummy was operated as a shooting estate, and so really intensely managed for that purpose.
This is the estate known as Kildrummy. Like many properties in Scotland that were used for hunting, Kildrummie's land was heavily maintained so certain types of game animals could thrive, with groundkeepers burning large sections to create better breeding grounds and even trapping certain predators to prevent them from interfering with the hunts. But that's all changing as more rewilders are banning hunting on their property and allowing natural plants to freely grow, letting animals and trees once eliminated from the land to make a comeback.
I think 100 years from now, if we get this right, much of Scotland is going to look like small parts of Scotland do today.
But not everyone is so keen with those pursuing this green initiative.
The people who are pushing this rewilding tend to be people from an urban background or foreign country who's come in here.
Critics also say rewilding threatens local hunting businesses and warn reintroducing certain wildlife could actually hurt the plants and animals currently living there. Ashley Strohmeyer, Fox News.
Coming up, the latest installment in a popular animated movie series, plus other new releases when we come back. A scary movie, a thriller mystery, a family adventure. It's all part of this week's new releases in theaters and at home. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
How long can we last in all this?
New in theaters is the horror movie The Ricken. Alicia Silverstone and James Tupper play a couple on a romantic trip in Vietnam when a storm sweeps their villa out to sea and they find themselves in the center of a school of great white sharks.
Is that a face?
Bringing scares to streaming, Tubi adds Unborn, about an expectant mother who suspects her baby is possessed. For family-friendly fare, Disney Plus has the Ice Age adventures of Buck Wild, with Crash and Eddie and their new friend Buck Wild the Weasel taking on unruly dinos of the lost world.
Can't help it if all your teammates are horrible. He was good too. A couple of good guys.
Netflix adds several titles, including the Kevin James-led sports comedy Home Team, inspired by the real story of Sean Payton about a suspended NFL coach reconnecting with his son when he coaches his middle school football team.
Someone has been murdered.
Plus, the unique genre twist, The Woman in the House Across the Street from the Girl in the Window, starring Kristen Bell. The psychological thriller satire series is about a heartbroken woman who thinks she witnessed a murder and does her own sleuthing to prove it.
This is a murder. What?
And Apple TV Plus invites audiences to The After Party, a star-studded whodunit with Tiffany Haddish as a detective, questioning guests when their host turns up dead following a high school reunion.
How did this all go so wrong?
A couple murder mysteries, all among the many titles to choose from this week. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of red pandas at a Brooklyn zoo. Let's make it a great tomorrow.